All right, we're going to push this forward. Welcome everybody to another Immigration Live Q&A with myself, Mark Holthe, Canadian immigration lawyer. It is great to be back. 1 week later, we have seen some changes, haven't we? We have now had an opportunity to see that, yes, they will do another CEC draw. And we've also been able to see that there are thousands of people in Canada who are now clamoring to get their profiles into Express Entry for the chance that maybe it will dip down low enough to catch them. So ultimately the question, which I will answer in just a few seconds, is will they do another deep scoop like they did for Draw 176, or will that be a one-time thing? I love when my tech glitches on me. It is so much fun. Let's see, will my other tech work? No, I've got a whole bunch of things. Oh, here we go. It's thinking about working. Oh, there it is. Canadian immigration lawyer, but not really. Oh, it's so fun. You know, when you're trying to get things all lined up, you're doing your best to have a good show, lots of good content, and you're trying to manage everything. I'll show you guys what I do here. I'll flip it around. I'll give you a little bit of a look. So this is what I use, which is the Elgato Stream Deck. And this critter is really good because it allows me to make it snow or not snow. It allows me to, to clap if someone's doing something good, or I can also ring the bell if someone's asking a legal question, and then that's the sign for them to go over here to, and I'm gonna just pull this up here so that you guys can see what I'm doing. And while I'm playing around here, make sure you post where you're listening from, where you're watching from, wherever it is in the world, because I want to give a shout out to a bunch of people. I'm always curious to see where people are watching this from. And it's so much fun to know that the reach of this immigration live Q&A extends throughout the whole world. So if you're a first time, let me know if this is your first time watching. If, indicate the country where you're watching from. I would love to see this. So just flipping back here, and let's see how this looks. Well, it's a little off kilter. Let's adjust this a little bit back here, and we'll pull this down a little bit. So this is the website here. And so when I ring that bell, that's the symbol to book a consult. You can click here or click here to book a consult, because it's not something I can address in a live Facebook, YouTube, Twitter Q&A. Because why? Well, I need a whole lot more information. That's really what it comes down to. All right, so let's see what else we can do here. I'm gonna make a couple other little adjustments with my system here. And then we're gonna flip over and we're gonna have a good little chat about some of the recent developments that are happening here. Now let's see if I can adjust this. What I want to do is adjust this. And it looks like it is maxed out right there. It's always fun, and this program allows me to adjust things and to enlarge things. There's a big ugly face. I can then adjust this over depending on how I'm lined up. Oh, isn't that nice? There we go. There's my big face. Okay, I'm back. I am back. Okay, let's see where people are tuning in from. Like I said, this is really fun. I love to see this. So let's just give a shout out to all those people who are posting. Make sure if you're watching this on the Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook group, well, the page, or Express Entry Law, the private group, or here on YouTube, or even out there in Periscope, I love to hear where you guys are coming in from and where you're tuning in from. So we've got this Facebook user, and anyone who's in the Express Entry Law private Facebook group, they are, it's not possible for me to show you who you are. So if you want me to see your comments, then slide over to the Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook page, or come over to YouTube and you can watch it there. And when you post, your profile will be visible. So someone from Nigeria, we've got Rahul who's tuning in from India. Welcome, Rahul. It's great to have you. Muzamel is here. Surah, hello. Good to see you. I hope you're doing good as well, my friend. Okay, Amandeep, He's going to ask the questions of all questions, almost positive. So greetings from India. Welcome, Emandeep. How about the FSW draws any hope for us Outlanders? Right now, I can tell you that nothing is going to be changing anytime soon. That much I can tell you absolutely. And one of the things that we're watching as we work through this is just we take our lead from the orders in council. We take our lead for when the borders are going to be opening. And the reality is, even right now, immigration, when we look at what's happening between Canada and the US, those that border and basically how Canada is treating their relationship with our closest partner, and whether or not the border's open for that, well, that is a very, very significant indicator that, well, things are not going to open up anytime soon. So we're still waiting. Canada's still struggling with their with the vaccinations and the rollouts and all of these things, which is just basically going to continue to cause delays. And my heart goes out for all of you. Anyone who is trapped outside, who has a confirmation of permanent residence that's already been issued. Remember, last fall, they were starting to issue some because they thought things were going to open up. But the reality is it just didn't because of the pandemic, the second wave, the variants of the virus. So all of those things are holding back everything that we're doing right now. And especially those Outlanders who are looking to qualify or go through FSW. At this stage, we don't see any opening up of FSW draws. Now, when I'm going through this process myself, and you'll remember last week when it was I think it was the St. Patrick's Day that I did last week. Someone asked me, Mark, is there going to be another draw? And what was my prediction? My prediction was the very next day, I said, yes, I think they're going to do another CEC draw. And what happened? They did it. But the crazy thing is how high the score was. So they didn't do a big scoop. And so many people are wondering, what does this mean? So why don't we just talk a little bit more? Because I know this is what so many people are interested in learning about and trying to understand how this all works. There's so much misinformation out there. There's a lot of people that are just flat out guessing, right? People that don't really understand or know how the process works, who are, using their best information that's available to them to just try to guess and try and understand or make their own prognostications as to what's going to happen with express entry. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to flip back and let me just see here. I'm going to change my screen over. I think I am. Let's see here. There we go. I got to put this one up here so everybody knows what this is. Okay, so I'm going to flip my screen over. Like I said, I was in the midst of saying ring the bell, go over to the website, book a consult. Well, that's interesting. No, that's not. Oh, there it is. Okay, we're good. We're back. Okay, so let's go back to the rounds of invitations. And I want to show you guys something. So I said maybe it'll be about 350. Well, if they had done a bigger scoop, then it's entirely possible that they could have hit 350. But the reality is we're going through this and we look at the draw, there were 5,000 people that were still drawn. And notwithstanding the fact they did a scoop of 5,000, which is very, very large, it was 449, which is still really, really high. If they were to do another draw, say in 2 weeks, because remember, there had been a full month. And let's go back to the previous rounds and let's take a look at this. I'm going to slide this over so everybody can see this just a little bit better. There, I think that's better. How does that look? So everybody can see. I'm going to slide, or at least try to slide this over just a little bit. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to expand that. See all these tweaking? It's on the fly. We are doing this on the fly. Okay, so I think we got it all sorted out now. So if we scroll down here and we look at the previous rounds, you can see 5,000. So they did 2 PNPs, PNP only, in a row after the massive 176 on February the 13th. Then over 1 month later, they did another one. So 5,000 total people, 449. At this stage, you guys, pretty much everybody was drawn out. So in 1 month's time, at least, well, and guaranteed there was way more than this, but there were over 5,000 people who had CRS scores of 449 or higher. Now, another thing I'll point out here is this tiebreaker rule. So if we go back to 179 and we look at this, you'll see when they choose a very even number like that, sometimes it might be that there's, every single person that was at 449 gets an ITA. But realistically, if we look at the tiebreaker being February the 19th, 2021, that means that anyone submitting an application last year, or actually this year, after February the 19th, didn't get drawn. So February the 19th, the draw happened March 18th. So if you were just squeezing in as fast as you could right after this date, if you submitted it February the 19th after 1559, you did not get an invitation to apply. And it's amazing to think that 5,000 people were above that 449 level. And if we go back to the basically the data here in the rounds, you can see that before these big massive draws, you can see before we did another one that was at 4,626 and 454 was the lowest. So they went a little bit lower. They pulled in a little bit more people. But overall, and the last thing I'll show you guys, I'm going to go back one more time. If you look at the number of people, so this was as of March the 15th, the CRS score distribution, and then the draw happened on March 18th. So 3 days, there could have been more people that came in. But you can see how many people here, for all intents and purposes, 4,629, it's pretty hard, as an FSW candidate. I don't even know if you can score under 300 as an FSW. I haven't really done the calculations, but the vast majority of these people here are CECs that have all piled in as fast as they can after they saw the big massive draw. And let's see here. I got to get myself positioned a little bit better. There we go. Okay. And so this 301 to 350, there's still going to be probably an even larger number of CECs, and 351 to 400, probably even larger yet. And we just keep going up here to 401 to 450. We're just right in that range right now. And you can see how many total candidates. So it's not letting up, you guys. The interest and the desire for people to immigrate and become permanent residents of Canada has never been higher. And after this big massive 176, everybody and their pet has been submitting a profile, no matter what their scores are, as long as they have that 1 year of skilled work experience in Canada and they have at least a CLB5 across all of the abilities, they're doing it. And so one of the things that we do know, and the thing that I've talked about, and I'll show my screen, I'm just going to point out to you guys, just so that you know, the Canadian Immigration Institute YouTube channel is full of information, including, if you go back to my videos, and if we click on the videos here, you can see I have done a number of express entries in the past. And so you can click here on playlist, and I think you guys can see this. Yes, you can. Okay, yes. So you click on playlists right here, and I've got a number of different things going on. So one of them is right here, Canadian Immigration Live Q&A. So I'm just going to pause this. So that was last week's. In here, you can see that there is a boatload of these. And if you go back a little ways, you'll see that I did some specific ones on express entry, the massive draw, like this one here, for example. And these videos here, I talk about the impact. I talk about the impact of this massive 176 draw on express entry. And one of the things I pointed out is that it was going to have a very, very negative effect on the PNPs. And for the provincial nominee programs, they rely on people in Canada, by and large, to fill their 6,000 plus, quota that they get each year. And with that scoop, it really took the legs out from underneath the PNPs. And they didn't know it was going to happen. They just didn't. They knew that it was going to happen. I shouldn't say that, but they didn't know how deep that scoop was going to go. And so now IRCC, I think, in discussions with the PNPs, who are all raging at them, have now realized that, well, maybe that wasn't the best option. So personally, I'm going to tell all of you out there that I seriously doubt if there will be another draw ever like we just saw with 176. Anything is possible, as we've seen, but I'm telling you that it's very, very unlikely that they're going to do another deep, deep scoop like they just did on February the 13th, right here. I don't think it's going to happen. And because I don't think IRCC really contemplated the impact it was going to have on the provincial nominee programs. And the PNPs have over 80,000 that they're supposed to do, right? The targets for them are over 80,000. And for IRCC, with the economic programs, FSW, Federal Skilled Trade, CEC, they're looking at over 108. So they're competing for the same people. So I'll be honest, what I want is I want the borders to open. I want the COVID hotels to be mandatory. People come in, they go through the protocols, they do the testing, and then get this vaccine rolled out so that we can open things up. So all of you who are stuck outside waiting to come, those with expired COPRs, those who are waiting for your application to be processed and it's just stalled out, the reunification of spouses with theirs, with their husbands and wives and partners abroad. Like that's the hardest part. It's bad being with your family, having a COPR issued, not being able to travel. But can you imagine what it's like for someone to be married and to have that spouse that is on the other side of the world and not being able to reunite with them? It's just something has to change. We have to move forward. There has to be a way to open up these borders, because I'll be honest, the impacts and the effects of all of this, the self-isolation, are having just disastrous effects for people's well-being, whether you're Canadian, permanent resident, foreign worker, student, whatever it is. And that's one of the psychological aspects, is one of the things that's just the hardest for all of us. So there are ways we can deal with this, but it just takes, the willpower to make that change. All right. There's my thoughts on this. Okay, guys. So thank you, Amandeep. A very, 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 very long answer to this question. But now anyone else who's asking about draws, what the expectations are, ultimately, when it comes to the FSW, I don't anticipate, until things start to open up more, I don't see FSW draws happening. All right. Okay, we've got Ramandeep is from India, 32 years old, qualifications is Master of Mathematics. Is there any chance for of PR for me? This is a great question. This is where I ring this bell right here, okay? Then I go over here and tell you, Ramandeep, this is where you go to book a consult. And the reason I say that is because there is no possible way I can assess your background and qualifications to determine if there's a chance for PR. I don't know how old you are. I don't know what your language scores are. I don't know whether or not your Master of Science and Bachelor of Ed have actually received ECAs. And so, well, I guess you are 32. I know what that is. I don't know what your work experience is. There's so much that really requires one of these. So I'd encourage you to click on the link below and book a consult, and I can sort it out. I can let you know. Ultimately, I always try to build things in so that, even when people ask specific questions, I try to generalize it. So what you're asking is someone who's lost 15 points already, right? So once you turn 30, 31, 32, you've lost 15 points. You're 15 points lower than a person who is 29, has a master's degree, has at least 3 years of skilled work experience, and has at least a CLB9. So that person has about 469 points. You're 15 points less. So the question is, do I have a chance? Well, when it comes to the core draws, I don't think unless you have French or a job offer or some other connection to Canada, it's going to be really hard for you to qualify, which seems just absurd. Now, you can also make up points if your language is off the charts, but that's the general guideline. And in my course, one of the things that I do is I have some scenarios. And I'm just going to show you guys one of the sections within the course. It's closed right now. I haven't decided when I'm going to open it up again. But you can go to the course, and the link in this description will actually take you directly to the page. Now, excuse me, you'll see here now, if you click to register, you basically provide your email to me, and I will notify you if you are, in a position to, if we decide to open it up is what I'm trying to say. And so individuals who are in the process who have their ITAs, it's the reason I asked that question, have you already received an ITA, is because it helps me to know the urgency of people. I know there's still a ton of 176ers, you Feb 13ers, that are still working your way through the process, probably have troubles or struggling to get documents. And so I may open it up again in April, but it's going to depend on how many people actually express an interest in me doing that. And when it comes to the ITA question, I know that there is a real set timeline versus someone who maybe is not quite ready to go. So that is what's going to dictate whether or not I open it up again. But in my course here, and I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to show you guys the course itself right here. And it's completely redone, 2021. I also want to dispel any notion that this is only accessible for 2 weeks. The people who even subscribed felt it was only available for 2 weeks. That's not the case. It's the masterclass where I teach everything live that only goes 2 weeks. You have access to everything else. But in the learning the basics right here about express entry, I have lesson 4, which is a bonus lesson, excuse me, which is a bonus lesson where I actually take everybody through some sample scenarios. So if I just move my little clicker around here, I create some scenarios of real life people, well, not real life, but examples of you, and explain how the points work, how it relates depending upon your background and qualifications. And I go through a bunch of specific scenarios, everything from, candidate John, his background, 29 years old, not married. See, I go through this and I explain kind of how it works, how the points are calculated, how we arrive at 469 for that individual. And it gives people, the reason I do this is that it gives people a very real life example that they can compare themselves to determine whether or not it's even worth their time, entering into the pool. Because it's one thing, and there's lots of overseas agents who are constantly trying to dupe people into giving them money to submit profiles, especially you outlanders, when you don't even have a prayer of getting drawn, right? But all they want is your money. And yes, you're eligible for express entry, but there's a big difference between being eligible and actually getting an invitation to apply. And those kinds of things, guys, are exactly what I cover in all of module 1 about the basics. Intro, express entry in a nutshell, how the comprehensive ranking system works. So those help people. Module 1 is critically important for people who don't really know a lot about the process. And it's not just about how express entry works. It's about whether or not you actually have a realistic chance of receiving an invitation to apply. So there we go. There is a little bit of added information. Okay, Thesura's shouting out to Ralph. They know each other because Thesura took the course. And Thesura, you can maybe comment on your experience with it. Okay. Okay. We're going to keep going. So anything about draws now, we're going to skip through those questions. I think I've covered it generally, and it seems like that's something everybody is always interested in learning about. Okay, let's keep zipping through here. Okay, this is a good one. Ramos says, hey, I was nominated by Saskatchewan. Then can a person complete his quarantine in Toronto because the hotel quarantine will also be in Toronto and then move to Saskatchewan? Absolutely. There's no problems with that at all. The reality is, as long as you have a plan and you explain to the officer, they're not going to let you go. You have to quarantine when you come in. And if your main flight is into Toronto, there isn't a lot of international flights into Regina or Saskatchewan. So basically, that's exactly what you do, Ramos. Okay, Nisa, hello. Good to see you. Okay. Toll says, hey, Mark, much left from somewhere, not Canada. Okay, well, I'd be interested in where that is. Abdul, good to see you, another past course attender. I love when you guys come back to say hello. Okay, Verzarius, and then we've got someone there. Hello. We've got a whole bunch of people here. Okay. Okay, Vinny says, my friend needs help with immigration to Canada. Do you offer services like applying for study visas or other temporary visas to Canada? Absolutely. And I think a lot of you, maybe you do or don't know, I don't know. But within our firm, we handle pretty much everything that there is. There's not too many areas that we don't handle. We don't do refugee applications. We don't find jobs for people. But ultimately, you can go to our website, click on the link here, and when you click on book a consult, you can see that I spend most of my time in certain areas. So I work with large multinational companies, and I do express entry and the PNPs. So that's what I've kind of, those are my exclusive areas of focus right now. It's not that I don't assist people with spousals and everything else. I absolutely do. But you can see Alicia and Susan right now you know, their offering is a lot more broad than mine right now. Just because I get so many individuals wanting consults for express entry, I by design have restricted the things that I do. But with that being said, I'm currently working on completing my spousal sponsorship course, and it's going to be very similar to express entry. In the beginning of April, when you go to book a consult, you're going to see that there's a whole week that's blocked off, and I have not been able to get to it. The goal was to get it done this month, and there's always been something. I'm the national chair of the Canadian Bar Association. That takes them an enormous amount of time. I'm involved in you know, my local immigration partnership group with the community. I've got a meeting with that today. You know, I speak at conferences. I assist the Canadian Bar Association with a number of their initiatives outside of my role as a national chair, government meetings. There's no shortage of things going on. And so I realized I just need to block out some time. So the beginning of April, you're not going to find a consult for that first week because it'll be all working on the new spousal course, which I am really excited about. And also, we are going to be creating a new private Facebook group as well called Spousal Sponsorship Law. Just like study permit law, which we also have, and the express entry law that's also on Facebook. Okay, let's see here. Okay, Masood says, hey, I have 2 applications in the system, work permit and paper-based PR. I did an upfront medical for my PR and have now got a medical request for the work permit. Can I share the same e-medical with IRCC for that? Masood, I'm going to click on the triangle. I want to look at that. That's something that I can't answer right now, but you need to book a consult. We can sort through that because I don't want to give you advice without understanding the whole background situation. And remember, when you guys ask very, very specific questions about your unique situation, that really is this. It's legal advice. And that you need to book a consult. Okay, let's see here. Giselle, nice to see you as well. I'm doing well, Victor. Bella, great to see you. Okay, yeah, and Mr. Smash here says, when can we expect the travel restrictions will end? Not anytime soon. So watch the you know what, I'll be honest, if you're wondering what's going to happen with the travel restrictions, the best place is to watch the Canadian newspapers, the Canadian media. They seem to hear about these things, you know, almost a day before the rest of us. Okay, let's see here. Bella says you make me laugh. Okay, well, I'll answer this one too. So, Dr. Asha, due to Corona, yes, immigration is still going forward, but you guys will understand that the travel restrictions are preventing immigration from actually landing people. Okay. Masood, thanks from the UAE. Great to have you. Okay, George, let's see what you got here. So George is also a past group member. Will IRCC request me to get an RCMP check done? I live in Canada. Applied under CC. I thought RCMP checks are done by RCC. Thanks. Okay. It just depends on if they get a match. So if there's a name, date of birth match, then they will request you to get fingerprints to confirm that you are not the same person that has that Canadian criminal conviction. So that's how it works, George. Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Okay, let's see. Okay, here's one. I'll answer this one too, Raul. So he says, my profile is past the expected completion date. Also, my medical will expire in a few months. Should I get a new medical done preemptively to extend the COPR expiry date, which I receive when I receive it? Raul, there's nothing wrong with that. If you know your medical, you're outside Canada. The key here is if you're outside Canada and you know that your that your medical is getting close to expiring, there's no harm in doing it. Ultimately, when are the borders going to open? We're not sure. And so, usually if your medical is expiring, they're going to ask you to get a new one before they issue the confirmation of permanent residence. But in your situation, there's nothing stopping you, nothing hurting you from going and getting another one done and uploading it directly to your file. So take the e-medical when you complete the test, use the IRCC web form and update it and attach it to your file. That's funny. Abdul says, happy St. Patrick's Day and may the leprechaun bring us the PR. Yes, that's the way it was. That's the way it was last week. Hopefully the leprechaun is cooperating and is working to open the borders for all of us. Okay. And yes, Abdul, you bet, from Dubai. Thanks for tuning in. Okay. Anik, hello. Good to see you. We've got Christo in South Africa. Great to have you here, Christo. Okay, so Maxim says, in 2020, ONP, Human Capital Priority, issued 6,716 NOIs and granted just 1,996 nominations under the stream. That's just 30% conversion ratio. Why is it that low? Okay. The reality is they have quotas, they have caps on all of the programs that they have. Remember, the Human Capital Priority stream is not the only one for the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program. And part of the reason that they didn't issue as many nominations is because everything ground to a halt. So the PNPs, many of them didn't process for months and months, and because of the social isolation. So it's Corona. That's why. It's the pandemic. Okay, great. Verzarius, thank you for connecting in. Thanks so much. Okay, and then Jazjeet, I'll ring the bell for you too. Book a consult. We can go through that for you. You bet. Hola, ¿cómo está, Giselle? Okay, let's see. We've got Roger here from the Philippines, currently living in Thailand. First time here. Okay, I'll give you one of those, Roger. Welcome, my friend. It's great to have you here. Okay, Ramesh is asking about proof of funds. Hello, my friend. How are you doing, Ramesh? If our proof of funds is older than 45 days at the time of submission of EAPR, will that be an issue? Normally, it's not going to be an issue. However, I always, for my purposes, I kind of use 30 days as kind of a cutoff. Unless sometimes it takes 3 months because of the pandemic to get the bank letter. You know, there's just delays and they just don't issue it. I've got clients in that situation. And, you know, in those circumstances, then I just provide a letter of explanation. And if it's been a long time, like maybe 3 or 4 months old, by the time I submit the EAPR, then at that stage, I'll often just include a letter of explanation saying, please note, I know it's old. I'm requesting a new one. It takes 3 months to get it because of the pandemic. Always refer to the pandemic, and then just upload it through an IRCC web form after when you get an updated bank statement. Okay, Mantek, good to see you. New York, hope you're staying safe. Okay, and anyone who's asking, do I qualify? Am I eligible? Remember, triangle, book a consult, and we can answer those questions. Abdul says, why don't you add a TikTok video or a Clubhouse room? Dude, I've got so many different channels here. I have trouble keeping up with just one. Fortunately, this live stream, I use Restream to push it out to Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter all at the same time. So I'm grateful for that. Okay, Sarah's got a big question. Submitted my EAPR yesterday, noticed in the passport section, yuck, that I uploaded my work permit instead of my passport. I submitted the passport via web form this morning, but do you think they will reject me? I'm a Feb 13 and I've uploaded everything else with complete LOE for each section. Oh, Sarah, this is the exact reason why I do this process right here. So when you go to our page, one of the things that I talk about, and if you go to about us and go to approach, in my firm, I do a collaborative review model. That's what I call it, our collaborative review approach. And in here, when you go to our website and you look at it and read about it, we have a strategy in place that really is designed to use every means possible to make sure that documents are not uploaded improperly. And even within the course as well, if I flip back here to the course, I have specific sections describing, well, module 5 is all about, it's all about understanding the document checklist, but it's also designed to help you understand and use specific strategies to make sure that that doesn't happen. This double checking, cross-referencing, making sure the file names are similar to the ones in the list, all of that I teach in my course. And so, Sarah, it's designed to prevent this. Now, the short answer is when your application is submitted and you file it, it's locked in. In the early days, I had one of my consultants actually who worked in my office. She uploaded a work permit in the place of a passport, and the application was refused. And so I know they will refuse it. Now, the question is, if you've caught it this quick and you upload it, will it be matched with your file? And that, Sarah, I cannot tell you. I would hope that that would be the case, but at the end of the day, there is a risk that it could get refused if for whatever reason they don't match up that passport. So my heart goes out to you, Sarah, and this is the reason. Like, it's so innocent. It's a simple mistake, and that's why our collaborative review model and the strategies in the course, that's why I teach what I do. Because in this fashion, I know that I'm giving my clients, the best chance of avoiding all of those mistakes that can trip people up, including this. So heart goes out to you, Sarah. It goes out to you. If I wonder what I've got here. Let's see. Yeah. So that one's for Sarah right there. And I'm hoping that it's going to work out for you, Sarah. But this is very, very similar to everyone out there who listens to those people on the internet who say it's so easy. You don't need to hire anyone to help you. You can do it yourself. Immigration will understand. They're reasonable. Well, I can tell you, no, they're not. They're not reasonable at all. In fact, they're jerks. And if you get if you get the slightest thing wrong, it is going to result in your application being returned as being incomplete. And you know the situation, Sarah. I don't know what your CRS score is, but it's not going down to 75 anytime soon, if ever, possibly. And so, yeah, you've done what you can, and there's nothing more that you can do. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. Keep us posted, Sarah. Hopefully that dream of yours of immigrating to Canada isn't gone because of that small little mistake, but it's enough to get it refused. Absolutely it is. Okay. All right. Hulk is in India. Great. Okay. Okay, Bangladesh. Okay, great to see you from Bangladesh. Okay, Nisa says, finally got a skilled job. Do you still have the course? Nisa, go over and leave your email. And as that group builds, because remember, I can handle up to 250 people in that group at a time. So leave your email, and as that builds to the point, then we'll notify you the moment that it goes live. Okay, here's a good question. Ramos says, Mark, if I book a consult, then will it remain confidential between me and your firm's lawyer? 100% Ramos. This is one of the significant reasons why hiring an immigration lawyer is really a great option. And I, I do not want to disparage consultants, because there's some excellent consultants that have come through my course. I've worked with them. There are some wonderful consultants out there. But when it comes to hiring a lawyer, this is a different classification of representation. So as a lawyer, I am bound by my code of professional conduct. And one of those essential critical components is solicitor-client privilege and confidentiality. So if Ramos, if you told me something and then I decided, oh, I'm going to go share it here on the YouTube channel, your details in a way that someone could know it was you. Well, people could report me to the Law Society. You could report me to the Law Society. And that breach of confidentiality absolutely would get me sanctioned. And potentially I could even lose my license to practice law if the error was large enough. But this is super serious. And I talk with people about all kinds of things. And usually, Ramos, I can tell you the discussions that usually come up with people, especially when they're worried about confidentiality, is that they've lied or misrepresented on a previous application, and now we're trying to figure out how to do it. Or they've submitted a document that was fraudulent. And those are the kind of calls that I get quite frequently. Yeah, and Ramesh, we're not seeing any signs right now. Alberta did not move to stage 3. So we're still 2. We're still unable to get together in groups. It still sucks. That's simple as that. Okay, let's see here. Okay, this is something I can't answer, you guys. If not Canada, what other options do we have for Outlanders? That's one I can't answer. Okay. So we got questions about draws again. Okay, here's a good question. This is from Kaushik. He's asking about processing times. Realistically, take those with a grain of salt, you guys. The processing times are guidelines, but often they are not accurate. And so I never put much stock in those at all. I just don't. In Canada, if you're a CEC candidate, you've submitted your application, they are right around 9 months processing. But yeah, I don't trust those processing times. I just don't. Okay, here's a good one. Fayaz says, and I get a lot of these. What are the chances of refusal from Quebec? I have shown my intention of leaving Quebec, but there are a lot of confusing going on. I've got an ITA February the 13th. I ring the bell. Like that's pretty much every single time. This is what I'll do. I've got a client right now. He has an employer-specific work permit. He just got his LMIA approved. He applied to extend his work permit for another 2 years in Montreal. He's only been working there. He's a Feb 13er. He was drawn just like you, Fayaz. And so now what we're looking at is ways to try to convince immigration that yes, he has intention of departing and living outside of Quebec. But it's not easy when you're on a work permit. You've spent your whole time working there. But we've got some strategies that hopefully we're going to try to employ. I told him, in his case, I gave him originally I said, you've got about a 10% chance of this being successful. But we've got some things that have kind of developed lately. And so we're crossing our fingers that, that maybe it can bump up to about a 40% chance. And these are just my own guess. But yeah, if you're in Quebec, book a consult, Fayaz, and let me see if I can help you. Because like many of you guys that were drawn on February 13th, you may never get another chance again. Okay, keep zipping through here. Okay, this is an update. So, okay, about to submit my application, but my job title changed today. Do I have to update in the reference letter for a new role? Do I have to update the work history or just the personal history? Well, if your job title changed, that often means that there's some form of change in responsibility or otherwise. I always go out of my way to make sure everything is absolutely updated and current. If you want to leave it and just update the information in your EAPR and your personal history, and just indicate that all the duties are the same. The title just changed today, but nothing else has changed. You can try to do that in an LOE, but best practice is to get it redone. I'm doing well, Bhushan. Good to see you. Okay, you're very welcome, Miss R. Thank you for coming here and supporting. All right, let's see what else we got going on here. Okay, so Gijo says, what's the difference between index of title and example of title? I know what they're asking. So here's what we're going to go. I'm going to flip over my screen. I'm going to go to NOC 2016. We'll pull it up, and I think this is the winner right here. Okay, and then what's referring to, let's go here, and actually we'll just search for a job title. Let's just go. Actually, let's go 2173. You guys are 2171. There's so many of you guys in these categories that I have consults with. What's being asked here is here. So example titles and index of titles. Guys, don't put any stock in this. There's no difference between the two at all. Essentially, wait a minute, go back there. Essentially, index of titles. So index of titles and example titles, there's no difference. It's just these are the most common example titles. And then this is an index of all the other potential titles for that particular classification. But remember, we don't care really what the title is. The only time we're really worried about the title is if you're saying you're a rocket scientist and you're actually working at McDonald's as a food service supervisor. Okay, they're probably going to wonder what's up with that. But generally speaking, if the titles are close, they don't worry too much about it. So these titles that they have here are really just designed to give you an idea, that you're in the right place in terms of your finding the correct knock. Okay. And so, but at the end of the day, it's these main duties. And I'll also give you one other little pro tip. These main duties, you only need to hit them for one of these positions. You don't need to have the duties matching all of these because these are different, distinct positions. And so a systems auditor is way different than a systems business analyst and consultant. So you're going to choose the one that fits, and then you're going to make sure that you've got at least a substantial number of those main duties. Now, this is an opportunity as well to flip back here and to go to the YouTube channel. I want to promote this, you guys. I want this channel to grow. So I love the -3. You know what, guys? Guaranteed, those are immigration consultants who were ticked because I said consultants suck. A couple of years ago, I had a string of awful things with consultants that had no training, had no business even practicing. And I will qualify, as always, that there are some great consultants out there, but there are a ton that really are scary, and they're representing people and have their lives of those people in their hands. But anyways, usually I've got these solid 3 that are always giving me a thumbs down, because I think I called them out and told them that they were terrible. Or the people who were trying to promote on the in the live stream. I think you guys remember when I did that. Anyone who promotes their own consulting practice on my live Q&A, not cool. So that could be the negatives. Anyway, so back to the channel generally here. I'm just going to go back to the channel, and I'll close this off. Here's our live, but there is a ton of videos that have been posted on all aspects, every kind of topic you could imagine is in here. I even have my podcast is in here, and then you'll see some of the past live streams, which if you want to catch me live, usually around noon, although, yeah, I may get out with Simba today. I've started a new little stream called Express Entry Tips with Mark and Simba. So my little dog Simba is joining me for a walk around Sunridge Park, and then I take just a couple minutes, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just to share a little tip. So watch for that. I'll make sure that's getting posted and it's easier for people to see. But you got to check that out. That one's really fun. I enjoy that one. And every day, basically, what I do is I just walk and I'm just thinking, what can I share with them today? So yeah, so I've talked about the knock selection 2 tips ago, and how important it is to not let the officer just look at your reference letter and try to guess what the knock is. You're telling the officer, yes, but I have my clients actually demonstrate to the officer how the duties in their letter match up with the duties in the knock, and I have them explain and draw the connections. And that's what I teach in the course. That's what I use for my clients. And what is substantial number of the main duties? About 75%. Okay, zooming through here. Zooming. Yeah, lots of questions about when do you think the travel's gonna lift. Divine, good to see you. And people are asking, what about FSW? I've answered those ones already. And people that are asking, hey, I've got this occupation. I'm going to be, are there PNPs that are good for me? That's also not something that I can do, because all of those, at least that relate to you and your eligibility to immigrate to Canada, really need to book a consult. So click on the link below, book a consult. We'd love to help you and love to support you in your journey. Okay, let's see what else we have here. Okay, so Eric says he's from Guatemala. Great, I have been to Guatemala. I went to Tikal. I spent a little bit of time down in Honduras, Copan, back in 2008 with my family. We did a little Mayan tour. It was awesome. And we also climbed that volcano. It was crazy. Oh man, I wish I could share a picture of it. But they put me, big Mark. You guys see how fat and overweight I am, which I'm working on right now. But they put me, excuse me, on what I swear was the smallest little horse. And we rode up the trail up to the top of the mountain. I can't remember, Eric, which one it was, the one that explodes. And at the time in 2008, I think it exploded like 2 weeks after we climbed up to the top of it. And the lava was like freshly crusted over. It was crazy. And so anyways, I think a rock hit them, if I'm not mistaken. And I think a reporter died from debris when they were filming the volcano. But that was back in 2008. Anyways, long story. Yes, my friend, I know that there's lots of people that are trying. Your human capital really needs to be off the charts if you're going to be able to immigrate. Or you consider the study route, or seeing if you can find a job offer from a Canadian company, which is virtually non-existent. It is so hard to get that now. All right, so I just ring the bell, Eric, and that's the best place to start. And sometimes those consults are good because I have the ability to say, look, you really don't have a shot at this. Don't waste your money on an ECA. Don't waste your money on language tests, on those, don't go and get a medical, like save the money because you don't have a chance really of qualifying. And sometimes that advice is as valuable as any other advice I can give people, because they leave their whole life, they put it on hold, hoping that they can immigrate to Canada, when in reality, they should be channeling that and either making their situation better in their home country or considering another country. So that's why those consults are valuable, regardless of whether or not, if you have any uncertainty, I can help you to resolve that and give you a realistic view and expectation of what your chances are of immigrating to Canada. That's why that's so important. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so Zainab's talking about tourist visas. Is it necessary to show home ties to the home country? Absolutely. You know, some people often, I have Indian clients or Pakistani clients that are living in Dubai, you know, Abu Dhabi. They've lived there for the majority of their lives. Well, you don't have permanent resident status there, right? Unless you're actually born and you're, you know, you're actually from there. And so it becomes really challenging when you're applying for any temporary status, whether it's studying, visiting, or even work in some cases, because they're going to want to know what ties you have to your home country. Well, if you're not a permanent resident of that country, or have other, you know, citizenship, then it's your citizenship that's on your passport. And that's where it becomes a big complicating factor. But 100% Zainab, in every situation, you absolutely have to show ties to your home country. Okay, this one, Mr. Smash, I'm not sure if maybe you, in normal times, you can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter where you travel if you're coming to land. Canada just wants to know once you get there, right? If you stay over 6 months, you know, you stay for lengthy periods of time, which really doesn't apply in this situation because you probably got your permanent resident visa and your COPR, and now you're getting ready to travel. So yeah, there's no issues with that at all. Okay, and anyone, Zainab, same thing. I'll ring the bell. Your friend needs to book a consult, okay? The prices on our website are all Canadian. The course is US dollars because it's hosted in the US, and it was just easier from the conversion standpoint to just the course to make that in US. But and that's a very important point because other offices like, you know, Canada Visa and those big ones, they often bill in US dollars. And for our site, nope, that is Canadian dollars. So there's a discount. And because I'm in Alberta, you know, the costs are 5% tax, not, you know, 11 or 12 or 14 or however much it is in other provinces. So there's an automatic discount there. Okay. Let's see here. Okay, let's see what Gigi says here. Posting is 2 parts. Okay, well, I'm probably not going to answer the second part. Let's see here. Is it, do we need to give a reference letter if the person isn't working? Is an experience letter acceptable for these people if they get an invitation? Let's see what this is. Is it mandatory for the candidate to work at the time of the invitation, currently not working? No. So if understand your work history needs to meet the minimum entry criteria or eligibility criteria for one of the economic programs. And they always, for CEC, it's a 3-year period. For FSW, it's a 10-year period, at least for the eligibility components. So any work, you don't have to be currently working. It doesn't impact it in any way. But obviously, the end date's going to be when you stopped working, and that's the period of work history that you can claim. Okay. Zipping through here. And I'm trying to get to different people too. Okay, one, even though this is specific, it works for other people. So work 10 months, quit, took a month, then started another job. Does it qualify as 1-year experience for express entry? If bearing all of the other requirements, skilled, paid, you know, so knock BAO, paid, you know, 30 hours minimum a week. If that's the case, then it is possible. Because remember, when it comes to the Canadian experience class, and actually, do you know what? Okay, here's the thing I'll point out. I thought for a minute that this was CEC, but I suspect you're an FSW. One, I'm going to ring the bell right here, but you have to have at least 1 year continuous full-time paid. So it has to be continuous. If you quit, move to a different job, then no. Unless you have something else that you can qualify for. But I recommend that you book a consult and we can sort that out. In Canada, it's not continuous. So that work experience, as long as it's within the past 3 years, can be broken down into chunks and all added together to make that, that 1 year. Okay. Amit, good to see you as always too. Okay. Okay, so Elias is saying, hey, do you think that, and welcome, he's from the Dominican Republic. So yeah, Christine Normandin And so she's the Block's critic. So basically, she attends the, she's the one who calls into question Marco Mendicino and the decision he's making. And, ultimately they talk about all this stuff. Remember back in November, I appeared before the Standing Committee on Immigration, Elias, and I brought this up. We talked about this. There were other people that were talking about this. And so they know about it. So great. The letter, congratulations. She's doing what any other opposition party or any other political party, what they would do. That's exactly what you do. You call into question the actions of the current parliament and you keep them honest. Okay. Let's see here. We're just about wrapping up, guys. 10:58 here. I'm going to turn this one on and I'm going to drop the volume down. That's my new way here of letting you guys know that we're going to be wrapping up here. So I'll get to a few more questions. Okay, I'll put up Siddharth. I'll ring the bell here. Is corporate sales manager good to apply for PNP? As you know, my friend, that is one of those legal questions that you need to book a consult with. Paul, can't tell you. I don't know when they're going to start working on PNP paper-based. Well, I can tell you that they're starting to work on them. Why? Because I've had clients that have been approved. So, I'm not sure what stage yours is at or what the holdup is, but they are working on them. It's just going really, really slow. Grav's in India. This person's in Dubai. Yes, they are issuing COPRs. Individuals in the US are able to travel. It depends on the country. But generally speaking, COPRs, if they do issue them outside, it's not something that they've intended to do. Often they're confused and think the person is inside. Okay. A whole bunch of questions about whether or not immigration is whether the FSWs are going to start rolling out again. Okay, Christine says, thanks so much for enlightening us on what program to take. Hope to work with you soon. That would be great, Christine. I welcome you to join. And just one more. I'm going to flip the screen over here. One more little shout out. This is where you go. The link is below. So go to, click on the main site here. See if it'll take me back to where I want to go. Okay. In the link below, it will take you to the Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step course, where you can register to be notified when I go live again right here. And you can go here. I've got Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I've got 3 more days for the current course that I'm offering. And so you can get notified by clicking on that link right there. Leave me your name and your email address and we will connect to you. You can see here testimonials from previous people. There's George right there. There's his own testimonial. Course is worth a lot more than $400. I'd need to book 10 consults to ask all the questions. Yes, George was a crazy person. He asked me so many questions. It was insane. Diane, it was great to have her. Diane is an immigration consultant. She took the course. It was awesome to have her. Fernando was there. Abdul, there's Abdul. He was also watching our live today. 347 has a great ROI. And if you think it's too much, count a cup of coffee for a month. You're right, Abdul. I'm pretty sure it's pretty awesome. And then a great testimonial from Frances and her husband, who is now in Winnipeg, getting ready to pave the way for them. And so it's awesome. And you can see all the other ones here. So those are just some from the course, the immediately preceding course, and the current one is just about ready to go. So thank you everybody for tuning in. It was great having you joining me today on another we covered Express Entry, we covered work, we covered study, a little bit of spousals, travel restrictions, draws, we covered it all. PNPs. All right, guys, we'll see you next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. Same place, same time, same person. All right, take care. We'll see you guys next time.